Just under 8 minutes now until the scheduled release of Cygnus to begin the final phase of its journey. Once again, Cygnus launched atop the Orbital Sciences Antares rocket from the Wallops Flight Facility in Virginia back on July 13th. That was a 3-day rendezvous, reaching the International Space Station back on July 16th. We are expecting to reacquire our downlink television capability from the International Space Station momentarily through the tracking and data relay satellite, and there we are. A good view of the Cygnus craft, the SS Janus Voss, about to be cast free from the station's Canadarm2 robotic arm under the control of European Space Agency flight engineer Alexander Gerst and NASA flight engineer Reid Wiseman. Five minutes until the release of Cygnus, the International Space Station, flying 260 statute miles over the South Atlantic, moving from southwest to northeast, approaching the southwest coast of Africa. With perfect lighting, Alexander Gerst and Reid Wiseman at the controls in the robotics workstation in the cupola of the International Space Station. We're approaching the 3-minute mark until the scheduled release of Cygnus to begin its departure from the International Space Station, having completed its mission to deliver some 3,300 pounds of supplies and scientific experiments to the Orbital laboratory. The upper portion of Cygnus that you see there with the Orbital logo on it, that is the pressurized cargo module that provided the pressurized environment for all the cargo that was brought to the International Space Station. The silver section at the bottom that is attached to the robot arm is the service module, providing the attitude control, propulsion, navigation, and electrical power for the commercial cargo vehicle. Inside 2 minutes until its release. Less than a minute now until Cygnus is released. "20 seconds away from release, standing by for the command to open the snares on the end effector of Canadarm2. And release is now confirmed by the robotics officer here in Mission Control on time at 5:40 a.m. Central Time. Cygnus is free of the International Space Station. Snares are open on the Canadarm2, everything in good shape, good stability for Cygnus. The release occurring just off the west coast of Africa as the International Space Station and Cygnus crossed over the coastline of Namibia. Alexander Gerst now backing the Canadarm2 robotic arm away from the grapple fixture. Good stability for Cygnus. Once again, the actual release occurring at 5:40 a.m. Central Time as Cygnus and the International Space Station flew 260 miles just off the southwest coast of Africa.
Houston Station, Cygnus aboard commanded. Go to re-enable ISS thrusters.
Houston copies.
The departure maneuver is underway. Cygnus firing its thrusters to begin its breakaway from the International Space Station after a flawless release by Alexander Gerst, backed up by Reed Wiseman in the cupola of the International Space Station. Cygnus has wings, now moving to a safe distance away from the complex for its eventual deorbiting on Sunday morning.
Station Houston on Space to Ground 2. Cygnus departure maneuver is in progress. Continue to monitor departure. That's steps 2 and 3 in 1.602.
1.602, 2 and 3.
Good copy.
Cygnus will be exiting the so-called keep-out sphere, the near field vicinity of the International Space Station, less than a minute from now. The second point of departure will be its exiting of the approach ellipsoid just after 6 a.m. Central Time, and that will mark the termination of joint operations between the flight control team here in Houston and the Orbital Sciences flight control team in Dulles, Virginia. It's theirs to watch over now until Cygnus is ready for its deorbiting on Sunday morning.
Looks like burn is complete.
Houston concurs.
The ISS Janus Voss has successfully departed from the International Space Station. The ISS crew congratulates a brilliant team of engineers, both at Orbital Sciences and at NASA, whose dedication and perseverance guaranteed a successful mission from beginning to end. It is this dedication that human space exploration is built on, and it will eventually carry humans beyond Earth orbit again. All the best wishes and a huge thanks from the ISS crew to
Congratulatory words from Alexander Gerst from the cupola of the International Space Station, as he wished the team at Dulles, Virginia, all the best, and expressed his thanks on behalf of his crewmates, the Expedition 40 crew on the International Space Station, for a job well done. So we're standing by now for the exiting of the Cygnus resupply craft from the approach ellipsoid. That is the other approach point on the neighborhood of the International Space Station. In the meantime, congratulations there in the flight control room in Dulles, Virginia, by the team of Orbital Sciences flight controllers.
Station Houston on 2 for SSRMS. We'd like you to apply the brakes and we'll take over on the ground.
brakes are on and you're go to take over.
Copy, and we heard all up to ISS crew, and then we lost you for the handover.
Okay, Mark. I'll pick up. The ISS crew congratulates a brilliant team of engineers, both at Orbital Sciences and at NASA, whose dedication and perseverance guaranteed a successful mission from beginning to end. And it's this dedication that human space exploration is built on, and it will eventually carry humans beyond Earth orbit again. All the best wishes and a huge thanks from the ISS crew to the entire team. It has been a real pleasure to work with you.
Thanks for those kind words, Alex. Very appreciated on behalf of the entire team.
And after a short loss of signal, reacquiring communications with the International Space Station on the Tracking and Data Relay Satellite System. Gerst completing his congratulatory words, offering all the best to the team of Orbital Sciences engineers in Dulles, Virginia for a job well done as they provided the Cygnus resupply vehicle. Once again, Cygnus launched atop the Orbital Sciences Antares rocket from the Wallops Flight Facility in Virginia back on July 13th. It arrived 3 days later for a grapple and berthing to the Earth-facing port of the Harmony module of the station on July 16th. And 1 month later, Cygnus is free, having been released at 5:40 a.m. Central Time from the grasp of the Canadarm2 robotic arm. Cygnus is now flying free from the International Space Station, heading to a point on Sunday morning when it will be 342 miles behind the International Space Station, 15.5 miles below the station, for the deorbit burn of its engine that will enable it to re-enter the Earth's atmosphere and break up harmlessly over the Pacific Ocean. The actual deorbiting and the view of the re-entry of Cygnus and the plasma trail that it will provide is expected to be documented by the crew on board the International Space Station, as well as through external cameras on the station in a dress rehearsal of an imagery exercise to be conducted by European Space Agency engineers in January, when the automated transfer vehicle, the final in the series of European ATVs called the Georges Lemaitre, is going to be deorbited, and the characteristics of its breakup will be provided in a set of data that will be valuable for engineers who will be modeling the reentry and breakup eventually decades from now of the International Space Station itself. You're looking at a animated portrayal of what it is expected to look like to the crew of the International Space Station on Sunday morning. Cygnus's deorbit burn on Sunday scheduled at 7:33 a.m. Central Time, 8:33 Eastern Time. Its entry into the Earth's atmosphere about 45 minutes later at 8:11 a.m. Central Time, 9:11 Eastern Time.
I'm jumping into RWS